you're looking to dive into topics on how to live a happier, healthier, more fit, and long lifespan, then you've come to the right podcast. Livin the Dream with me, Coach Damian Evans. Together, we will explore the topics on all things health, fitness, and wellness. Together, we will be lifelong learners on this journey to living the ultimate dream. What up, Dream Team? Coach D here, coming at you with another growth MINIsode. This will be a bite-sized episode with the goal of setting a growth-minded intention and focus for the upcoming week. Each MINIsode is going to offer a quote that encapsulates the theme of the week. And after the quote, we're going to dive into a weekly focus, something small that we can concentrate on for the following 7 days. As well as we're going to touch on a physical activity and a nutritional tip that will better assist us in working towards a more healthy and optimal way of living our own dream life. And each MINIsode is going to end with the recommendation for the week. The recommendation could be anything from a podcast, a book, an article, a paper, anything that I think is going to help better educate ourselves toward the overall focus of the week. And if this is your first time listening to a MINIsode, the goal is to listen on Friday, Saturday, or Sunday to be ready to start the challenges of the week on Monday. So listen to just one MINIsode every week, and as that week finishes, move on to the next week's MINIsode. I mean, you could start all the way over at MINIsode number 1, or you can join up with the team right now. These MINIsodes will only be as beneficial to you as you're willing to make them. So if you're playing along with the weekly focuses or the physical activity and nutrition tips, it'll help you be much more successful to do this with someone in your life. So grab an accountability buddy and share on your social media platforms the challenges of the week. You never know who is going to be quietly watching and rooting for you, and you never know whose life you will truly inspire just by sharing your journey, both the challenges and the successes. You're going to be far more likely with a support system and a social network to be successful. Get someone that's chasing similar fitness goals as you and do this with them. And as you work on making your life healthier and you motivate your network through your positive actions and your lifestyle choices, the ripple effect, it's unimaginable with who will be touched by you motivating and posting and including others in your journey. So let's dive into this week's Growth MINIsode. This week's quote comes from author of the New York Times best-selling book, High Performing Habits, and considered by some the world's leading high-performance coach, Brendon Burchard. Brendon said, "First, it's an intention. Then, it's a behavior. Then it's a habit. Then a practice. Then it's second nature, and then it is simply who you are. First, it's an intention. Then it's a behavior, then a habit, then a practice, then it's second nature, and simply it's who you are." And I love this quote. I love it so much that we're going to make this a multiple part series, breaking it down one point at a time. This quote follows exactly what our philosophy here is at the Livin the Dream podcast. Small, tiny goals stacked together over time, creating long-term monumental accomplishments. Small steps, consistently, compounded over time, stack up to giant leaps towards your goals. Just one tiny habit created, added to another, and then another, over time creates the successful lifestyle you once could only dream about. This isn't rocket science. It's just really hard for people to commit to in order to start. The small start seems so insignificant, whereas in the long picture, the overall giant, crazy, out there goal seems impossibly attainable with a starting effort that it requires. But from everything that I've researched, from everyone that I've talked to, from everything that I've implemented into my own life, from all the stories of successful people who are reaching out and hitting their mountaintops, this is the answer. This is the way. This is the blueprint to follow. Start so small that it's impossible for you to fail, and stay consistent over the long haul. Boom, that's it. We could end this right here, right now if we wanted to. First, it's an intention, then it's a behavior, then a practice, then a habit, then a practice, then it's second nature, and it's simply who you are. So let's break down the quote into multiple parts over the next couple weeks. This week, we're going to focus on our intention. Let's apply this to our own lives. This week's weekly focus, we're going to think about one trait that we wish we had: honesty, integrity, courage, self-awareness, kindness, strength, resiliency, care. Whatever it is, think of a trait that you wish you had. Or you could think of a goal that you wish to obtain, a job position, a certain financial reality, being able to learn something new, acquire a new skill. You could also think about how you would like your life to be different than it is right now. Maybe it's changing your health. Maybe it's changing a relationship with someone. Maybe it's finding more balance in your own life. So either think of a trait, or think of a goal, or think of how you would like your life to be a little bit different. And let's go through this together. And after a few weeks, you're going to have an outline that, if followed with some consistency and effort, you really can be whatever it is that you decide is your desired trait or goal, or whatever comes to your mind when you think about bettering yourself. First, it's an intention. So how to set up an intention according to the experts. There's a book by Catherine Hurst called The Secret Law of Attraction, Master the Power of Intention. Catherine Hurst, The Secret Law of Attraction, Master the Power of Intention. And she suggests that writing down an intention statement is how you start. So that's what your assignment is going to be this week. That's what our assignment is going to be this week. When you write something down, it forces you to reflect on how to express it and gives you the ability to really explore what it means to you. Good intention statements are typically brief. They're extremely clear and inspiring to you in some way. It's similar to a mission statement. If you've ever created one of those for your personal or professional life, similar to a mission statement, don't worry about getting it perfect on the first try. It can evolve over time. Instead, view yourself as playing around with different forms of expressions or ideas when it comes to your intention statement. So here are 7 steps to help you write your own intention statement this week. Number 1, first thing you want to do is affirm only what you want, not what you don't want. For example, consider the wish to have more money or to be enough comfortable with the money that you have. You might be tempted to write down, I will have no more debt, or I will no longer need to worry about money. But these focus more on the negative, you not having money. Instead, your affirmation should sound more like, I am financially abundant. I have all the money I need. Or let's think about an example when it comes to a relationship. Stay away from statements like, I avoid partners who are bad for me. I can move on from my heartbreak. And instead, affirm that I attract partners who will treat me well. Or I am joyful in love. And that brings us to the next thing that you want to do when creating your intention statement. Number 2, write it down as if it is happening right now. And now this may seem like it's a fake it until you make it type of situation, right? And it kind of is. But there's some serious science to back up how this actually works. Using future words like I will or I'm going to, it really makes your goal seem like it's far away, rather than what we really want, which is I want to make my statement the inevitable. Words like I am, I can, I feel. These are what you're looking for. I am, I can, I feel. For example, I am confident and strong, or I am wealthy. These are all great intention statements. My life is filled with love and happiness. So make sure you scan your intention for words that suggest that there's still a long ways to go, or a big distance between you and that thing or the things that you desire. Find those words and then replace them with terms that indicate a more present tense with what your heart desires. Next, you want to, number 3, focus on the feeling. When starting to create an intention, it's easy for some of us to let our brain go down the realism route and think only with our head, forgetting that we have wisdom also in our heart. Just like the statements of I am, I can, I feel, why those are so powerful, so are statements that focus on your feelings. So for example, let's take the statement of I am successful, which is simple, it's strong, it's a great intention statement. I am successful. Yes, this works great, but maybe Also consider adding a couple of adjectives that help to evoke a feeling, such as, I am fulfilled, stimulated, and successful. I am fulfilled, stimulated, and successful. Or maybe you say, I am happy and satisfied with my success. And remember, you are free to try as many different versions that you want until you hit the one that really speaks to you. Add some feelings in there. And then number 4, check for the words try, but, might, could. We're not focusing on striving for or making some kind of effort. We're setting an intention. So instead of, I try to be positive, open-minded, and honest. No, I am positive, open-minded, and honest. Find these hedging words that don't really commit you to your success, that inject hesitancy and uncertainty into your intention statement, and just completely take them out. Number 5, when solidifying your intention statement, it's been shown that when you focus your attention on gratitude, the resulting positivity helps you create the kind of life that you want. For example, if you're lonely and your intention statement is to address this issue, you could write, I am surrounded by people who like me. But to put your attention on gratitude in this situation, that would sound like, I am grateful for the love of my 2 best friends, and I'm surrounded by people who like me. Yes, it takes it a little bit longer, but that's powerful when you add that gratitude sentence. This addition helps inspire gratitude and has strong evidence that it makes your intention statement that much stronger. Number 6, it is also extremely important that you make your intention statement something that you believe. And this might be the most important thing, which is a little tricky, right? If we're writing something that we wish we were or wish we had, but we're writing it in the present tense, does that not mean that we're saying something that's not true? Now, I would argue no, because this is in you to be this person. You do have this trait. You can obtain this goal. It just hasn't been brought to the surface yet. However, if there's something in your initial intention statement that seems too much of a fantasy or it's unreal to you and you don't believe it, then odds are it's not going to work for you. For example, if you're dead broke, you have no money, fighting just to stay afloat, and your intention statement is, I have all the money that I need. Well, it's going to be pretty hard for you to believe that as you're struggling to make ends meet. So maybe you save this intention statement for the future and you modify your current intention statement wording to make the statement more credible in your own eyes. Later, you can then shift back to the stronger version that you had that once seemed a little bit unattainable. An example of how you would do this would be to add something like, I am willing, or I am open to, or my intention is. So I am willing to be financially abundant. I am open to love. Your statement will most likely become more believable to yourself. And then over time, you can get back to that original really strong statement. But for some of us, we have a history of putting ourselves down or struggling to praise ourselves. And for us, we will want to be a little more reserved with our intention statement while we get used to the idea of our own amazing potential. And then you can go back to that initial statement that didn't seem believable at the start. So that one's really important. If it's so unbelievable that you just are like, okay, yeah, this is fake, this is magic, this is fake news, you're not going to believe it. So make it something that you believe. And number 7, finally, to solidify your intention statement, you want to deal immediately with the negative thoughts that are being said by your inner critic. Things that try to stop you from pursuing change. Catherine Hurst got this from the work of Julie Cameron, and they call these thoughts blurts. And often these blurts are outdated or entirely misleading, and when challenged and confronted head on, they may disappear entirely. The next time you have a thought like, I don't have the talent to succeed, ask yourself, how can you rewire this thought as a positive, motivating intention? You can literally write out the inverse of this blurt. I do have the talent to succeed. Or maybe you can come up with an argument against your blurt. Like, I can achieve success through concerted hard work. So if you don't think you can be successful, but you believe that you can be successful through concerted hard work, maybe that's how you flip your statement. However you approach this process, the key is to take all of your negative thinking as an invitation to practice positive thinking. That's pretty powerful right there. The key is to take your negative thinking as an invitation to practice positive thinking. So go through these 7 steps and create your own intention statement this week. And if you feel called to, share it with your loved ones and definitely share it with me. I would love to hear it and support you. First, it's an intention, and then it's a behavior. So next week, we're going to be connecting our intention statement to a behavior, which will be our goal to then make it a habit. And in MINIsode number 39, the recommendation was to watch a TED Talk about behavior change. We will be using those strategies to implement a behavior to make our intention statement. If you haven't seen the TED Talk, it's a really quick one. I highly recommend checking it out before next week. I'll include the link in the description of this minisode, but a little recap here. The 3 principles that she offered for behavior change was number 1, social incentives. We are social people. We really care about what other people are doing, and most of us want to be doing it better than our peers. It's just human nature. She discussed how at a hospital, they were having trouble getting their doctors and their nurses to wash their hands both before and after spending time with a patient. They put up a scoreboard that gave social incentives for hand washing, and hand washing skyrocketed from 30% to 90%. That's insane. Another example was the British government was having trouble getting their people to pay taxes. So they sent these people these letters that when they were late on their taxes, that letter said 9 out of 10 people pay their taxes on time. And what happened? People paying their taxes, the numbers shot up in the same way as the hand washing. So that was social incentives. Number 2, the second principle is immediate rewards. If you can somehow find immediate rewards from your behavior, you're much more likely to stick to it. For example, with exercise, if you start finding the reward in the simple feeling of a post-exercise routine, the feeling, rather than the long-term side effects of changing your body composition, immediate rewards will lock you in much longer term than the success of those body composition goals in the future. So immediate rewards is number 2. And then number 3, progress monitoring. Highlight your progress, not the downsides or the ramifications of whatever you're doing. For example, telling a person not to smoke because it will give them lung cancer has very little effect on helping them quit smoking. That's weird. But telling an athlete that if they stop smoking, they're going to become X% better at their sport, that has been shown to be super impactful on the ability to quit. A why. Another example that she gave in the TED Talk was her own electric bill. The electric company she was using was trying to get people to conserve their energy. So the next bill that she got, it showed what the average person's electric usage was in her apartment building. And then it gave her a score in the form of a smiley face for using less. She got 1 smiley face. However, she could also observe that she could have done a little bit better because there was an opportunity for more smiley faces. So it was made very clear that she was doing okay, but not as good as possible. And finally, it gave her a sense of control. She was in control of how much her electricity and her household used, which is very important. You got to feel that you have control for change. So those are the 3 things that she talked about for behavior change. Keep those in mind for next week. And if you haven't checked out the video, give it a listen, give it a watch, and we'll dive deeper into it next week. This week's physical activity tip is all about creating a ritual for the things that are important to us. In this case, it's going to be our physical training sessions. Now, we've talked about nighttime rituals and how to get prepared for bed. We haven't really gone over morning rituals quite so much, but we have talked about our individual morning routines that get us ready. And even if our ritual is just to wake up, go to the bathroom, make coffee, or head to work, that's a basic morning ritual that we all have. And many successful people that I follow, they swear that a good morning ritual is the answer for success. So we'll probably go over morning rituals in the future. But for this week, we're going to go and focus on the time frame that is right before your workout. in order to get our minds, our body, and our physiology ramped up the right way for exercise. This is going to be tricky for me to explain to a broad audience because everyone is different, right? We all have different goals, different types of workouts that we like to do, depending on if it's high intensity or steady state or whatever it is. And when the timing of the workout is always different for people, morning, night, afternoon, whatever it is. And where you're working out, home, the gym, those are all different variables that we have to take into account when it comes to making our ritual. So this is not going to be like a step-by-step guide on exactly what you should do. Instead, more of a list of ideas for you to consider as how you can implement them into your pre-workout ritual. If you've ever been an athlete or known an athlete who gets ready for a competitive event, you may have had some exposure to rituals. Maybe it's from wearing a lucky pair of socks to eating the same pre-game meal, or it's the time where that athlete had the best game of their life and they're trying to replicate exactly what happened before that game. Maybe it's the same warm-up routine to even carrying lucky items in their uniform. I once had a friend who put a lucky rabbit's foot that his grandmother gave him in his football pads every away game. Not the home ones, because his grandma was at the home ones, but every away game, he would put that lucky rabbit's foot in his pads. And some may see this as being superstitious, but I see it as taking control of neuroscience. Some superstitions have crazy origins and they're outdated, like knocking on wood or walking under ladders or breaking a mirror or stepping on a crack. But other superstitions actually have been found to be beneficial, especially when it comes to athletes, which we can bring this back to us with our physical activity tip. We can consider ourselves athletes in the sense that we're getting ready for a physical feat and that we want to get prepared for it. So maybe you remember hitting a home run while wearing your lucky socks. This is our psychological bias at work. We are far less likely to remember all of those times that we struck out with our lucky socks on because we had such an impactful experience of success that one time. But that doesn't matter. Believing that they work could actually make you perform better by giving you the illusion, the confidence, the control over certain uncontrollable events. That confidence can make an actual difference, a substantial difference. So with this knowledge, you can make your own ritual and slowly tweak that ritual until you get the results that you're looking for. Once you have that one training session where you felt amazing, you felt so strong, so much energy, you had the outcome that you were looking for, then you can repeat that ritual, which will psychologically give you a legit boost in your performance. Now, you first have to decide when you're going to start your pre-workout ritual. That's important. Is it going to be 60 minutes before, 30 minutes before, 90 minutes before? One example that I can give you from my past is in college. I had classes all day, morning to mid-afternoon. And it was my goal to lift right after the last lecture of the day. But I knew that if I went home and I sat down, it probably wasn't going to get done, just because it was my habit to either get caught up in homework or watch TV or go out and do social engagements or stuff like that. So during my last lecture of the day, what would I do? I would have my pre-workout drink, usually really high in caffeine, which may not be the healthiest thing to ingest, but hey, I'm just telling the truth. I did it. I think that the pre-workout that I once took actually got taken off the market because it had methamphetamines in it. So that's pretty cool. Anyways, the caffeine-rich pre-workout was the start of my ritual. I knew that if I drank that drink, it was going to be the first domino that fell that would result in a great high-energy workout and a feeling of accomplishment that then I could continue on with the rest of my daily schedule. Now, if I were to skip the lift, if I were to drink that drink and then not work out, I would be all shaky and jittery and energy filled with no outlet. And that expensive pre-workout, at least it was expensive for me at the time, that expensive pre-workout would have gone to waste. So that was important for me. I was super poor in college, and I'm sure as hell not going to waste anything and let that go to waste or let that happen. So my first domino was the most powerful one in this instance. But it doesn't really have to be for you. You just have to make sure that your one domino falls into the next domino and the next domino. Another example of that would be when I got a little bit older and I had a little more freedom with the timing of my workouts. I tended to start my workout ritual with a small meal, about 1 hour, 60 minutes before my actual training session. This would be some form of easy energy like Greek yogurt, peanut butter, fruits, nuts, maybe a turkey sandwich if I was feeling depleted, something like that. After my meal, I would go and I would start packing my gym bag and put my workout clothes that I wanted on. And as my food digested, I would get everything packed up ready. And then because I knew caffeine took about 20 to 30 minutes for me to really start feeling the effects, that would be in my next move. So it would be meal, pack, caffeine. And then right before I left my house, which I knew was about a 15 to 20 minute drive away from the gym, I would take my caffeine. And then as I was driving to the gym, I would select my playlist or my podcast that I was going to listen to. All of those things came in a specific order and had a specific reason as to why I was doing them. They were dominoes, stacked to fall towards my success. Yes, after eating my pre-workout meal, I totally could have done something else, like sat down and watched some Sports Center or started scrolling through my phone. But I made it my ritual to clean up my meal and move straight to my bedroom where I started to pack my bag. Once my bag was packed, that was my cue that caffeine needs to go into the system. And then we all know where that's going. I can't back out now. I got my stuff packed. I got my caffeine starting to metabolize in my system. And all it's left to do is grab my bag and do what my body was prepared to do, what it was habituated to do. And I'm not saying you have to do any of these same things. If you don't eat before your workout, that works for you, great. If you don't do caffeine, you don't do music, it doesn't matter. It's the idea behind the ritual that's important. So what does that look like for you? When do you want to start your ritual? What does that look like for your schedule? That's the first thing that you want to do. Is it in the morning before you work? Is it at lunchtime? Is it after work? Is it in the evening? You have to schedule it. Once you know when your training is going to be, then work backwards. Reverse engineer it. You're going to want to decide how early to start your ritual. Usually your pre-workout food will start your ritual if you eat. And that's going to be, if it's a heavier sandwich or something, maybe 60 to 90 minutes before. If it's light like yogurt or a smoothie, maybe it's only 30 to 45 minutes before. Caffeine usually takes 20 to 40 minutes to kick in, so that would be the next part of your plan. Do you make a playlist before? How long does that take? Do you need to pack a bag, or is it already packed and ready from the night before? Write down your ritual and what it's going to look like. This is going to be an initial starting point. Include the time frame and when you're going to take the supplements or the food, and make sure it's a smooth transition from one domino to the next. Things that you're going to want to consider. Number one, your clothes. Are they ready? Do you have to locate them? Are you currently wearing them? Do you have a backup pair in your car? This might sound really weird, but this is a huge hack. I have an emergency bag in my trunk of my car. It literally has everything that I need for a workout. In case I forget one, two, or any of the items. It has an extra pair of old shoes, socks, underwear, tank top, shorts, even an empty water bottle with some single serving sizes of pre-workout and post-workout protein. I have no excuses. Even if I just completely decide to do a workout out of my ritual, I do have the opportunity with this emergency bag in my trunk. Now, I haven't used it for years, but if it's ever needed, I have it. No excuses. Number two, music. There's nothing that kills a workout more than hitting shuffle on a playlist that you think might have good songs on it, only to find out that Celine Dion, My Heart Will Go On, blast during your heaviest set of squats, and you have to spend 15 minutes trying to locate another playlist while you lose all of your energy and motivation. No, you should be prepared before your workout with a playlist. Get off your phone while you're in your playlist, unless you're using your phone to journal your sets, your reps, your weights. Number three, programming. Also in Growth MINIsode number 39, we talked about using a notes feature on your phone where you can put a little checkbox next to each item that you're going to do in the gym. You should have a game plan as to what you're going to do in the gym. Don't just show up, hop on a cardio machine, and think you're going to figure it out when you're there. And maybe you put this as part of your pre-training ritual. You can consider implementing your game plan somewhere as one of your dominoes. Number 4, pre-workout sups in your meal. We've talked about this. Definitely need to plan when you're going to eat. If you're going to eat something heavy, don't do it close to your workout. It could give you intestinal distress. If you don't eat and you don't need to eat, that's fine too. If it works for you, do it. You don't always have to eat before a workout. Everyone's different here. Number 5, your warm-up. Your warm-up, you should plan it. How long is it going to be? What's it going to entail? This should be part of your ritual. And number 6, you can also push past your training and go into your post-workout supplements in your meal. Once you have your training session completed, you can totally start your post-training ritual. Maybe it's with a cool down or a post-workout protein shake or whatever supplements you take, or your recovery process. Whatever it is, you can go into your next ritual. The goal is to create a ritual, fine-tune it until it becomes something that you truly look forward to. And once you finalize what that looks like, the more you do it, the more you solidify that ritual, the more you strengthen those neural pathways, and the more you create that autopilot habit, which is usually something that we need to fight against for lazy or unhealthy behaviors. But we can use it to our advantage to complete something that is really tough for the average person to do. The more you do it, the more it becomes a habit, and the more you become that person, and it's who you are now. Share with me, share with your network as you work on trying to figure out your ritual. This is one of the most powerful tools I've experienced personally and with my clients to help them make a training lifestyle habit. This week's nutrition tip is going to be using the same idea as the domino effect it takes to create good rituals, only in reverse. Sometimes going on your fat loss journey or your body composition journey starts by modifying your food environment. And here's what I mean by that. Our environment design can help us stay on track, or it could ruin what we're trying to accomplish. When it comes to the foods that you eat, modifying the environment can be a great start for increasing your consistency, your adherence, and setting you up for success. And we know nowadays, especially if you're spending more time at home or working from home, emotional eating or distracted eating or boredom eating or even just temptations are more likely to be a real thing for you. If you have hyperpalatable foods, meaning super tasty, high-calorie foods readily available and accessible, then the chances are that you're going to overeat them, and that will make your weight creep up over time. Modifying your environment could be a great answer here if you're trying to improve your eating and exercise behaviors, habits, rituals, whatever you want to call them, for your fat loss or your weight control. So for example, reducing the visibility of junk foods is huge. Instead of having a clear cookie jar full of cookies right there on your counter as soon as you walk in, it's the first thing you see, maybe you put them in a non-see-through container and you put it out of sight. I once heard that at the Google headquarters, in their lunchroom, they used to have a clear container full of M&Ms at the very end of the lunch line. So people would go through the lunch line, they would get their food. At the very end of the lunch line, there was this clear container of M&Ms. And the entire container would be consumed and emptied every single day. So they decided to do this experiment, and they put the M&Ms in a non-see-through container. It had the little label of M&M on it, and put them down on the shelf below the actual counter. So you actually had to bend down, look through all these containers, grab the container, open it, and then grab the M&Ms. So this was where the employees could take them if they still wanted to, but it just was essentially out of sight. They didn't have to refill this container for weeks. Very interesting, right? Did the employees lose the desire to eat those M&Ms? No way. It was just out of sight, so it was much more easy for them to pass over and forget about. Did they need those M&Ms? Probably not. So keep foods out of your sight and avoid watching food commercials. I never understand why people just sit there and watch these food channels for hours when they know they're never going to take the recipes and actually use them, or they know that they're never going to take these tips that these cooks are going to use. They're just watching these food channels, which has always been really interesting to me. These things, the food commercials and your junk food that's in plain sight, these are designed to hijack our brains and bring awareness to the blast of deliciousness that's just minutes away if we want it to be. You also can create barriers between you and the foods that you might not want to eat as much at your home or your work. Keep less healthy or less nutritious foods and put those far away from your normal eating spots. Maybe it's in a cabinet all the way in your garage. So if you want them, you have to walk all the way out there. You have to open up the cabinet, multiple containers, and then get to the junk food that you might want. Obviously, the best thing to do is to not have it in your house and make it a barrier for you to have to go to the store and purchase a single serving size for the craving that you have. But if it is in your house, make it really hard to get to. You can also do the opposite thing with your healthy foods. Make those foods, the foods that you want to start eating, impossible to miss. They sit there in a bowl for easy access right as you enter the kitchen. Or they're in pre-made Tupperware containers that all you have to do is heat them up in seconds and boom, you have it. Hack your environment. This is so important. More adherence means you will be moving closer to your goals. This is something that you can do with your entire family, your entire household. Get a commitment from everyone as to what foods your tribes want to consume more of, what foods your tribe wants to consume less of, and then modify your environment according to your lists. And lastly, this week's recommendation is to get a stronger understanding of what we're going to be going through next week with habits and behaviors. We've talked a little bit about Charles Duhigg's awesome book, The Power of Habit. Definitely check out Charles Duhigg's book, The Power of Habit, if you haven't yet. It's great on audiobook, a really motivating and inspiring read, and super implementable as soon as you finish it. But also, he did a really good TED Talk about 8 years ago. So yes, it's old, but this one was super entertaining. So if you haven't gotten to the book or you don't have time right now, check it out. It's 16 minutes on YouTube, and he did a great job with it. I'll include the description of this minisode. In the talk, Pulitzer Prize-winning Charles Duhigg seamlessly combines informational facts from research, anecdotes, and real events, and personal experience with insightful observations to explain why human behaviors are compelled by habit. Citing research evidence supporting the positive effects of willpower on long-term decision-making, Charles encourages listeners to teach willpower by supporting the mindful contemplation of consequences and resisting impulses that otherwise result in persistent habits. Check it out. It's a good one. And that's it, my friends, for this week's Growth Minisode. Each week, we're going to focus on something new and dial in a different aspect of physical activity and nutrition. Share with your friends and family and hold each other accountable. Post on your social media stories when you've discovered your intention statement. I want to know about it. Post a video of you hacking your training ritual or of you modifying your food environment to help you obtain your goals. Make sure you tag me and share your journey, and let me know if you have any other suggestions or tips that will help your Livin the Dream team that I can discuss on future episodes. I'll be right here with you working on making us stronger, happier, and healthier humans. Until next time, friends, keep living the dream.